Hey friends, welcome back to She's At It Again. We're in my laundry room, and all I want to do is encourage you to start a garden this year, and also how to start tomato seeds. I was trying to think of how I was going to say that. So I do this every year. I don't even need to repeat myself when I say I don't have a garden. I have just areas that I plant things in, and normally they're not great producers, but sometimes I get it right and sometimes they do produce well. So never want to miss an opportunity to grow a tomato, that's for sure. So all I'm going to do is just show you how simple this is to get tomato seeds started. I had a friend who's older than I am and oh so much wiser, and he has gobs of property, but he kept buying tomato starts. And I asked him one time, why do you keep buying those? Why don't you just start them yourself? And he said, well, I don't know how. And I'm not even kidding when I say his son owns a nursery in our town. I know. And when I told his son this, he just kind of rolled his eyes like, yeah, I knew he wouldn't ask me about it. But I want to share that information with you of how easy this is to get started. Now, as simple as this is, you don't even have to have these. These are just trays with, I have a clear plastic lid that goes over these. You can buy the kit with these in it. These are just leftover from years past. You can purchase these at your store. You don't even really have to have that. You can buy, really any kind of potting soil will work. But to get these started, I'm going to use pretty hot water. And I'm going to cover these with hot water. The hotter the water, the quicker these expand. They start out as these little pellets. They look like little miniature hockey pucks, and they're hard. So if you put hot water on them, they expand, and there's netting on the outside of them, so it's not like the soil just goes willy-nilly into the container. It's all contained in that little pot. You can tear it or cut it away later on. We're going to add hot water to this. And you might come back in after a while and say in about 5 minutes, and the water might be all dried up. So they've absorbed all the water and they still need more. So if they're not about that tall, can you see how tall that is? If they're not about that tall and look really fluffy and full of moisture, then you need to add more water to it. But it's not detrimental that it doesn't have quite enough water, because if they have some moisture in there, the seeds are still going to germinate. So the thing I want you to know, especially about tomatoes, now not everything's like this, but you can go online and just Google which plants need light to germinate. And it'll give you a short list. I'm telling you, it's not a very long list. Hardly anything needs light to germinate. Things need heat to germinate. Some things don't, but tomatoes do. They need heat to germinate, and they need light once they germinate. And when I say germinate, that term just means for the seed to open up and the plant start growing out of it. So once they've germinated, you'll see the little green at the top of the soil, and that means your plant is alive, it's ready to go, it's hungry like a baby, and it wants to be fed. And one of the things it also needs is light. So you're going to have to provide light after that. But for now, let's just get these started. Now mine are already expanding. You can see how fast they expand. Like I said, the hot water is the key to this. Now you can always drain off any excess water if it doesn't absorb it. That's not a problem. Tomatoes normally take about a week to 10 days to germinate, sometimes as much as 2 weeks, but there's always that odd circumstance when you have one popping up literally 2 days after you plant it. So we're going to give these just a few minutes to expand and plump up, and we'll be right back. Okay, so our peat pots have expanded a lot. This is what they look like. And there's a little indention in the top. Let's see if I can get it better on this, whichever one the light's better on. So what we're going to do is take our seeds. These are some of the seeds. I bought 3 different kinds this year. This is the seeds that we're going to be planting right now. And I'm going to show you. These are pelleted. I just realized that this says pelleted up here. There's too many things I'm trying to look for on a seed packet, like days to germination and what our zone is and things like that. Just reading some information about. I've grown these several times years and years ago, and I like them only because, here's the key, 52 days to harvest. That is a pretty short growing time. That means I'm getting to eat a tomato a lot quicker than I would if I were to plant a different variety, which I'll plant other varieties too. So if these come up, if these produce anything, supposedly they're a little bit earlier. That's why it's called Early Girl. So I've taken my seeds and I put them out here on this plate, and I like to use a dark plate just so I can see the seeds better, but because they're pelleted, I'm not having a problem seeing those. My eyesight is not that bad. So I'll get a bamboo skewer of some kind. I'm just going to start by pushing this open a bit. Now this says that the planting depth should be about 1/4 of an inch. So about 1/4 of an inch. It's not rocket science. You just want to get them in the dirt, but they don't need to be so deep that they struggle and struggle forever to come out. Now I have planted tomatoes before, and I put them in my closet where my water heater is because it's nice and warm in there. Again, they need warmth to germinate. But I've had some that I thought, oh well, the seeds rotted, they're not going to grow up. And then lo and behold, I just leave it in there and I check on it every day or two. And probably 3 weeks after I planted the thing, the tomato comes up. So I don't know what the problem is with some of them. Maybe it's with me. So we're going to put 1 seed in each of these. Normally, if you have just conventional packets of seeds, not pelleted, you'd put maybe 2 in there, and then you thin them out. And what that means is you take one of them and you pinch it off so it dies, and then it just leaves one. Me, I'm going to pull that thing out, stick it in another pot, because tomatoes are so resilient. They are absolutely just bound and determined to grow to the best of their abilities. These are super easy to see. That's the advantage to them. But the disadvantage is there's only 15 of them in the package. So it says 15. I'm here to tell you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. There was 14 in this, so they miscounted somewhere. Take your skewer or your finger and just cover it up with soil. Like that. And to keep the humidity in there, they have provided a plastic lid for growing these, which is helpful because otherwise, if it's in a warm place, that means the water is going to evaporate a little bit quicker, and you don't want these to dry out. You don't want them just sopping wet, but you don't want them to dry out. So at this point, we take our clear lid, and the clear is only helpful because it keeps you from having to take the lid off to check on them. We're going to put the lid on it like this. We're going to label these just with a little tag of some kind inside the container, and don't worry, I'll fill those up. I'm just showing it to you just for visual purposes. We're going to put this in the water heater closet where it's nice and warm in there all the time, never ever cools off, and I'll check on these every few days, and probably within about 3 days, at least one of these will start sprouting up. And at that point, I will take and put it in a separate container, like a little drinking cup, a little disposable drinking cup, put them underneath a shop light, an LED light that has, it's a daylight shop light. It's really not that complicated. It's not expensive. And don't think sitting them in front of a window is going to work, because what happens at that point is they're going to get leggy. And what leggy means is that they're going to start getting real stringy. Instead of being hefty little plants that I can handle this, they're going to start getting real viney looking and skinny, and they're just reaching for the sun. They're wanting more sun and they can't get to it. So if you'll provide an overabundance of light, and you don't have to leave it on 24 hours a day, leave it on like maybe 12 hours a day, and 24 hours isn't going to hurt it, but 12 hours a day is fine. And I usually put mine out in the sunroom, because at that point they don't need the warmth, they need the light. So they go from needing warmth to germinate to needing light to grow big and strong. So at this point, get your tomatoes started, go get some seed, go get a little bit of soil, and plant a garden. I can't tell you how fulfilling it is to have those things come up, and especially if you get to eat something from it eventually. Even if you just have a big flower pot and a balcony, please try it. It's so rewarding. I hope this has inspired you to possibly plant something, hopefully a tomato, but if it's just flowers, at least you're tending to something and helping it to grow. So thanks for joining us, and we look forward to sharing something again with you real soon. And I'll give you an update if these ever produce anything. I'll be sure and make a video and say, I got tomatoes. So anyway, see you guys. Okay, we are back, and I just wanted to give you an update. This is Friday. It was, let's see, it was Monday when I planted the tomato seeds. We started this video out, but 4 days later, and I got something to show you. See my tiny little tomato plant just popping through the soil. Now this is the first one. This is one of the black Krim tomato seeds. So I'm going to go outside. I'm going to get a cup. My husband has these paper coffee cups that I can write on the outside, and I'm going to plop it down in that in some other soil and put it in some area that's not going to get below freezing, of course. And then I'm going to put my grow light on top of it. But today, there's so much sun out there, you can't even see out the window. That's the sunroom just outside, and there's so much sun out there, I may wind up setting it closer to a window for right now, just until I get a chance to go out there and mess with the soil. But I just wanted you to see that within 4 days, you can start a tomato plant. Isn't this fun? Too cool. Happy birthday, guy. Okay, thanks, guys.